Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget-friendly, and delicious. So if you'd like to get some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, I made turkey tenderloins. I got this pre-seasoned turkey on markdown at Food Lion a month or so ago, and it was in my freezer. I wanted to use it up, so I've thawed it, and I'm just going to cook this according to the package instructions, and then I'll get started on my sides. For one of my sides, I'm going to make mashed sweet potatoes. So here I have 3 sweet potatoes that I washed, peeled, cut into chunks. I covered them with water, brought them to a boil, and then boiled the potatoes for about 20 to 25 minutes until they were tender. I've drained them, and then I'm going to add them back into the pot. When I make mashed sweet potatoes, I like to add butter, a little bit of cinnamon, and some sugar. I have this Land O'Lakes cinnamon sugar butter in my fridge that I need to use up, so I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of that along with some milk and then just a little bit of salt, and I'm going to mash that up, and then I'll give it a taste and add a little bit more milk or cinnamon or sugar, depending on my taste. Here are the finished sweet potatoes, and then here are roasted Brussels sprouts. I've shared this several times before on my channel. All I do is take some Brussels sprouts, slice them in half, add them to a cookie sheet with some olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some bacon. I roast them in the oven until they're nice and golden brown and then toss them in a little balsamic vinegar. Here are those turkey breasts finished. And then we had just a little bit of the cheesy broccoli and rice casserole left over from a couple nights ago. So I just warmed that up, and next I'll show you our plates. And here is a picture of my husband's plate. I have no idea what happened to the picture of my plate, but this was delicious. It was the perfect fall dinner. I was worried that turkey breast would be really dried out and not very flavorful, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was really tender and juicy, so I definitely buy that again. This was our dinner this night. Like I said, perfect fall meal and delicious. For dinner the next night, I made myself a chicken salad. My husband wasn't hungry for dinner. He had had a late lunch and a pretty big lunch, and I didn't really feel like cooking anything. So I just made a salad, lettuce, tomato, some hard-boiled eggs, cucumber, some croutons, some chopped up bacon. This was just leftover that I'd cooked for breakfast. And then I took a couple of the Tyson chicken tenders and cooked them in my air fryer, chopped those up, and then added some leftover honey mustard salad dressing that I had, and that was my dinner this night. I love making these like fried chicken salads. They remind me of O'Charlie's. It was so yummy. Tonight for dinner, I tried a new recipe for a honey balsamic chicken wing. There's a store here in Nashville called the Nashville Olive Oil Store, and they, of course, sell olive oils, but they also have vinegars, balsamic vinegars, different gourmet seasonings and sauces, and I love going in there and just kind of trying new things. I'm not sponsored, by the way. They have no idea who I am. I know I've mentioned them before on my channel, but again, not sponsored. My husband happened to have a meeting next to their store maybe a week or two ago, and he ran in and got me a couple different olive oils and vinegars that I've never tried before, and they're kind of like their special flavor right now is a Tennessee aged whiskey balsamic vinegar. And when he bought it, the lady gave him a recipe for these chicken wings with that. Now, this recipe is posted to their Facebook page, so I'll link that in the description box below. I'm not going to share the measurements because, again, this is their recipe. But if you would like the recipe, you can go over to their Facebook page or visit their website. But these chicken wings were delicious. They were so, so good. I'm so glad that we tried this. It was so different than any other chicken wing that we've had. But while I was making the chicken wings, I was also weirdly craving Rotel dip, so I decided to do just kind of like a snacky dinner. So let me show you how I made the wings and the rest of dinner. First, I'm going to make some Crockpot meatballs. I'm adding some meatballs to my Crockpot. I'm going to add in some barbecue sauce. Just use your favorite. And then normally I add in grape jelly, but I've seen Taylor Elmore, I'll have her channel linked down below, add pepper jelly to her meatballs. And so I've been wanting to give it a try. I had about a half a jar of the pepper jelly in my fridge that I needed to use up, so I decided to try it today. I'm going to cover this with a lid, and I cooked this on low for about 2 to 3 hours. Now I'm going to start on the Rotel dip, which I know you probably already know how to make this, but I wanted to share it just in case. To my slow cooker, I'm adding a block of Velveeta cheese that I cut into cubes. Next, I'm going to add in a can of Rotel. Do not drain this. You can use mild, medium, hot, whatever you'd like. I'm using mild today. Then I'm going to add in some cooked breakfast sausage. This is the hot Jimmy Dean. I didn't feel like it was too spicy. So I've cooked the breakfast sausage. I've drained it. And I like to add only half a pound of breakfast sausage. I feel like adding a full pound to this just makes it a little too meaty. But if you want to add the whole pound, of course, do it. I'm going to place a lid on this, and then I cook this on low for about 3 to 4 hours. I did check it every hour or so and give it a stir just so that the cheese on the bottom and around the sides didn't burn. Now for the chicken wings. I've got the oven preheated to 425 degrees. In this bowl, I've got my chicken wings. I'm going to add in some olive oil. Again, I'm using the Nashville olive oil. You don't have to do that. You could use whatever olive oil you have on hand. Then I'm going to season the wings with some smoked paprika, Italian seasoning, pepper, and then the recipe specifically called for a smoked sea salt. I did happen to have some of that on hand, but again, just use what you have. If you don't have a smoked salt, just use plain salt. I'm sure it would still be delicious. I'm going to, like I said, season those, give them a toss, and then I let these sit on the counter while the oven was preheating just to kind of marinate a little bit. I've got a cookie sheet that I added a wire rack to in hindsight, and next time I make these, I will definitely add some foil to the cookie sheet before I add the wire rack. I've laid out my chicken wings. I'm going to bake these in the preheated oven for about 40 minutes to an hour. You just want to make sure that they are at least 165 degrees internal temperature. When the chicken wings are close to being done, I'm going to get started on the sauce. In this small pot, I'm going to add in the balsamic vinegar. Like I said, I'm using the Tennessee whiskey, but you could just use regular balsamic vinegar. Then I'm going to add in my honey. I also added some minced garlic, although I forgot to show it here. I'm going to whisk that, bring this to a simmer, and then cook it for about 10 minutes. And you want to make sure that you stir it. Of course, you've got that honey in there. You don't want that to burn, but you want to cook it until it's reduced and thick. Here's the reduced sauce. I removed it from the heat, and I'm going to whisk in the Dijon mustard, and then that will be ready. Here are the chicken wings out of the oven. Now, to be completely honest, I wasn't sure if we would love the honey balsamic sauce, so I took half of the chicken wings and set those aside. The other half I went ahead and tossed in that honey balsamic sauce, and then I sprinkled it with a little bit of the smoked sea salt. And like I said earlier, these wings were delicious. They were so, so good. I will definitely make them again. With the other half of the chicken wings, I tossed them in some buffalo sauce. I just had a little bit of the buffalo sauce, I think from the Dollar Tree, in my fridge. And so I tossed those, and my husband enjoyed those as well. Here are those Crockpot meatballs. The red pepper jelly in this was delicious. Thank you, Taylor, for recommending that. It was so good. I will definitely make these that way again. I was worried it would be a little bit spicy, but it wasn't to us. It was delicious. Here's the Rotel dip, and then here is my plate. So I have some of those honey balsamic wings, some of the Rotel, and the meatballs. I love snacky dinners like this, and everything was delicious. Totally hit the spot. I recommend you give all of these recipes a try. For dinner the next night, I made a French onion chicken and rice bake. I've shared this before on my channel. I had some French onion dip left over in my fridge that I wanted to use up, so I decided to make this. Like I said, I've shared it before. It's from the plain chicken. It's delicious. It's so good. You basically just take rice. You could use, regular rice if you'd like to. The recipe calls for instant rice. You use cooked rice, some cooked chicken. You could use a rotisserie chicken, French onion dip, a can of cream of chicken soup, a little bit of chicken broth, some shredded cheddar cheese. You mix that together with some salt and pepper, place it into a greased casserole dish, sprinkle some fried onions on top, and then bake it for about 20 to 25 minutes, and that's it. Here's a picture of the plate. On this particular night, I had some fresh fruit that I needed to use up, so I just served it with some fruit, and it was super yummy and such a quick and easy dinner. For dinner the next night, I made chicken Parmesan. At Food Lion a month or so ago, I bought these chicken cutlets on markdown. They're already breaded. I'm going to just cook these in a skillet. I've just got a little bit of olive oil over about medium-high heat. I cooked these until they were 165 degrees internal temperature. I'm then going to add the cooked chicken cutlets to a cookie sheet that I sprayed with a little bit of cooking spray. Then I'm going to top these with some spaghetti sauce. I just had this half a jar of Classico in my fridge that I needed to use up, but use your favorite spaghetti sauce, or you could, of course, make your own from scratch. I'm going to spread that sauce out onto the chicken, add a sprinkle of grated Parmesan cheese, some shredded mozzarella cheese, and then I'm going to place this into a preheated oven. It was set at 350 degrees. I just cooked this for about 5 minutes or until the cheese was melted. Here's the finished chicken, and then my husband asked if I would mind making him some pasta. That just sounded good to him, so I cooked up some spaghetti noodles and tossed the rest of that Classico sauce with the cooked noodles. Here are the plates. So for my husband's plate, he has a layer of the pasta and the chicken Parmesan. I didn't want any pasta, so I just have the chicken, and then I made some side salads. For my salad, I had some leftover homemade honey mustard dressing that I used. For my husband, he had the Olive Garden Italian dressing. Super easy dinner, and it was delicious. For dinner the next night, I made taco soup. I'll be sharing how I made this in an upcoming Crocktober video, so keep an eye out for that if you'd like to see how I make my taco soup. To go along with that, I just made cheese quesadillas. Super easy dinner, and this was so yummy. For the last dinner in this week's video, I made meatloaf. I've shared how I make my meatloaf before. I'll have that video linked in the description box below. To go along with it, I'm using these seasoned collard greens, and then I'm making this box of deluxe macaroni and cheese. I'm just going to cook the macaroni and cheese according to the package instructions, and I just warmed the greens up on the stove. Here's the finished macaroni and cheese. Here are the finished greens. And then here's the finished meatloaf. And again, I'll have my video linked in the description box below if you'd like to see how I made this. And then I'll show you our plates. And here's my plate. I have some of the macaroni and cheese, the greens, and then the meatloaf. My husband wasn't hungry when dinner was ready, but he later that night had a meatloaf sandwich, just some of the meatloaf on some white bread and a little bit of mayonnaise and some cheese, and that was our dinner this night. Super yummy. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked this video, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.